All right. Good morning, everybody. My name is Seda, and I am an urban conservationist with the Department of Agriculture and Land Stewardship in Des Moines. Just a little bit of background on myself. So I like to share with folks because I never know when I'm going to run into people that are from my area of the state. So I grew up on a farm south of Carroll, between Carroll and Templeton, on a traditional farm, and at a young age I had an interest in water quality through a science fair project. It led me to go on to study microbiology at Iowa State. From there I worked at the DNR for a good number of years, and now I have the privilege to work as an urban conservationist with the Department of Agriculture in Des Moines. Sometimes the term urban can be somewhat misleading. As you'll see through my presentation, sometimes a better description of what we do is maybe based upon the practices and the assistance that we offer more than the term urban. So this is our urban conservation team that is spread throughout the state. It is organized and run by our program coordinator, Paul Miller, who is in Des Moines with me. And then Amy Bauska is in Iowa City, based out of the Johnson County Soil and Water Conservation Office. Caitlin Wagner is in the Buena Vista County Soil and Water Conservation Office, and Jennifer Welch is in Polk County. So just a little bit of our program overview, just to give you kind of an idea of the services that we provide and the folks that we work with. At the top of our list is our WQI program, which is our Water Quality Initiative program, and that is typically funding that we help offer technical assistance to municipalities, counties, soil and water conservation districts, kind of a bigger overarching aspect of our program. We are also contracted by the Iowa Department of Natural Resources to help with their sponsored projects through their state revolving fund. Our third program that we work with is Iowa Economic Development through the Green Streets program. We currently have two of those going on right now. One of them is Southwest Iowa Flood Recovery assistance that we offer. Through the Green Streets program, there has to be a stormwater component to the funding that they receive, and so they contract with us to offer assistance on different practices that can be implemented on those properties. And the next one that we're kicking off through the Green Streets program is the derecho recovery in Lynn, Tama, Benton, and Marshall counties. And now getting down to where our impact and the technical assistance that we provide can assist the folks in the room and the people listening. We can offer assistance through the soil and water conservation districts or directly with private landowners. So sometimes private landowners have interest in managing their stormwater on their property. They may reach out to us directly, or they may reach out to the Soil and Water Conservation District. So either way, we work in collaboration with the districts. So if a landowner contacts us directly, then we will get in contact with the district and try to figure out if there's funding available for some of the practices that are being considered, or vice versa. Sometimes a landowner will contact the district and say, hey, I'm thinking about this stormwater practice, and they may reach out to the urban conservationist and say, hey, how can we help get these folks some practices implemented? So what is this technical assistance based upon that we offer? So we review plans and review calculations, and our goal is to manage a 1.25 inch rainfall. So typically in Iowa, most rain events are 1.25 inches or less. So that's the amount of stormwater that we focus on managing. For some of our programs that we assist with, there might be different funding available, different levels of funding available to different municipalities or those Green Streets programs. If people can boost their stormwater management all the way up to what we call Iowa, that can range from rainfall events of 2 to 2 inches of rain. So we use that to base the size of the practice that we need to implement on different properties. In your folders, it's just a simple list. It's a fact sheet, just a simple list of the websites that I may reference during the presentation, so that way you don't feel like you need to write down the website at all. I think you'll be able to find it. It's just a simple sheet. So thank you, Clint, for doing that for us. And then I want to just kind of go through, like, what does this technical assistance look like? So when we are contacted, whether it be by the district or by the landowner, we can come on site and evaluate your property, and we'll go through a little bit more in depth of the design. For some of our larger practices that we work on, if we're working with different engineering firms, those practices we have to go through designs at 30% stages, 60%, 90%, and before we get to a final plan. Most oftentimes when we're working with private landowners and projects with the soil and conservation districts, we can go pretty quickly from getting a design concept to working right through final plans very quickly, in the sense that we can provide assistance on how to do the calculations, how much water that you need to manage for a practice, what your drainage district or drainage area is. And I'll go through that list that we would propose to review with the landowner, I believe on our next slide. Just to kind of sum it up, after we can kind of come to a conclusion and do the calculations and base the size of the practice, we are there for the pre-construction. We can make ourselves available during the construction. We can provide assistance in what kind of maintenance should be done on the different practices that get implemented on the properties. So these are kind of some of the design and the concept questions that you need to ask yourself if you're interested in managing the stormwater on your property. So the first thing is to figure out, how does the water flow on the site? Obviously just to get an idea of the direction it's flowing, so we can pinpoint the best location for where the practice should be implemented. For some of the practices, it's really important to figure out what the impervious surface is, meaning your rooftops, driveways, the road, sidewalks, those kind of things. We have to factor in what that percentage is when we do the calculations. Some people have an idea of what kind of practices they want to implement, where they will contact us and say, hey, we're thinking about putting in a bioswale on our property. We oftentimes get the other side of the coin, where people will say, here's my problem, this is what I'm trying to do, here's the stormwater that I'm trying to manage, can you recommend a practice that might be best on my property? So it can go both ways. People can have an idea of what they want to do, or maybe it's a situation where they need us to propose some ideas. So we can really go either way with that. Now for the fun stuff, some of the practices that we typically work on. The first list there, and we'll just go through kind of the pictures of them. This is more for independent property owners or homeowners. And again, don't let the word urban throw you off. These practices can be implemented in rural areas. This will just give you an idea of some of the rain gardens that we've done. It's important to understand, again, how the water flows, how you calculate it. And a rain garden is designed with a flat bottom, and then it has amended soil. So roughly 6 inches of amended soil, which is 75% sand, maybe 20% topsoil, and 5% compost. So basically you're creating, as I like to term it, a sponge. And then on top of that, you put your mulch and then native plants over the top. And then these would be designed, like we would calculate the impervious area of a home or a driveway, and then calculate how big these rain gardens need to be and get them sized appropriately. Kind of expanding upon a rain garden are what we refer to as bioretention cells. And these are for a larger drainage area. We oftentimes see them in parking lots, along the edge of right-of-ways, but these too can be out sometimes we do them in developments like where agricultural land and the city meet up. These are just larger. They have a rock structure on the bottom. They have a ponding depth of 6 to 12 inches on top, but then they also have a drain where it outlets into the storm sewer, or it can daylight. It can go either way. So these are just a bigger practice. Something that's really popular and taking off really all over the state is what we refer to as the Soil Quality Restoration Programs, or SQR. This is where we do deep tine aeration on different lawns. Deep tine meaning like 6 inches more than just your regular aerator. And then you go over it with a 1/2 to 3/4 inch of compost. And you can tell from some, again, it's really creating that opening in the soil so that water can infiltrate better. We put the compost into the soil to help the microbial function of what's going on. And what you end up doing is you absorb more water, you use less fertilizer. We've done soil sampling before SQR was done and then after, and it shows that the soil maintains a lot of the nutrients. This just gives you an idea. Sometimes it's important if you don't do it on existing turf, if it's a new development, just the importance of using topsoil. For some of these practices, I go through fairly quickly. This is an example of a bioswale, a before and after picture. Again, it's amended soil. There's a sub-drain. After the practice is done, you put in the amended soil, and then, of course, you cover it with native plants. Rain harvesting is also something that we can assist landowners with. And that bottom just gives you an example of how fast a 55-gallon barrel can fill up. And I'll just go to this slide next. This is an example of rain harvesting in Cedar Rapids, where a development went, there's just so much impermeable surface that these barrels fill up quite quickly. But we can help people that are interested in this do the calculations, figure out how much water is going to be accumulated. Native landscaping is also something that we assist people with, whether it be to control erosion, like along a stream bank or any kind of a waterway like that. It can oftentimes offer the pollinator garden benefits. So it's just another one of those practices, and people might be interested in native landscaping. We would come out and take a look at it, and then of course get with the Soil and Water Conservation District and review funding. Yep. We also work on permeable pavers, wetlands, wet ponds. We provide, and all of this information, I have brochures that I'll have on my table at the trade show, and you can ask specific questions about each practice. We provide technical assistance through these design checklists so we can help people size it. And the whole intention is for people to be able to do this independently. And so we have published this Iowa Rain Garden Manual, and it is just step-by-step how to do a rain garden. And we offer step-by-step approaches to many of these practices. And you can also go to one of the QR codes is you can go to the website and get all the information from this manual so that individual property owners can go through it step by step. But then that's what we're here for as well, is so that people can reach out to us for assistance on how to do that. And then, of course, the ever important maintenance of these practices. Most of them are fairly simplistic, but as with anything, there's always maintenance that needs to be done so that it can function and operate as intended. And again, these websites are on that handout, so you can feel free to check those out. I will be over here at the trade show, and if you have any specific questions, you can reach out and find me over there after these presentations.